Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review American Backwoods, Slew Hampshire, where death is not the worst of evils.
Written and directed by Flood Reed, starring Dayo Okeniyi, American Backwoods, Slew Hampshire is about four friends who go on a trip up north, only to be captured by crazy rednecks who want to hunt them in a game of survival. What do we like about this film, guys?
The deaths that we saw were really cool in the sense that they showed more of the guts and the blood spraying on the screen, and it looked nice.
I like some of the camera work that they had. There were a few nice camera moves and cool establishing shots. They had some dollies, and I think overall the cinematography was pretty well done.
I liked the funny original songs that they used.
I thought the audio in general was pretty solid for this style of film. It's definitely super low budget, but I think the audio was above average for these low budget independent films.
I know something that we all enjoyed was the nice attention it paid to the nice sexy ladies in the strip club.
Unnecessary and gratuitous, but we come to like that kind of thing sometimes.
Sometimes.
Most times.
That part playing the dream sequence of the strip club was kind of hilarious.
Yeah, I think some of the humor towards the beginning of the film was pretty solid.
Good way to start the film off.
The acting in this movie was actually pretty decent. I mean, we had a bunch of different characters. Some of the character types were well done despite how much you hated a lot of them. I hope that was planned because I really hated that douchebag with the hat.
He's probably sitting at home like, man, my character was so likable in that film.
It's just like me.
What don't we like about this film, guys?
I'd like to start off with the most distracting thing about this film, which was the editing. The editing in this movie was probably its biggest downfall and the reason why we don't really care about the characters throughout the whole movie. Basically, every single shot is on for about maybe 16 frames.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to something else. You'll have a conversation between 6 people and you'll see 3 of those people in every second. So it's ridiculous. You get really nauseous watching this movie. We've seen some really fast and bad editing in Bikini Swamp Girl Massacre, and a lot of you guys said that it was too much for you guys to handle the first 10 minutes. This is much worse.
They used the same filter, but they tried it on so many different effects that you're like, well, is this a dream? Is this fake? Has this happened? I don't know. It's all the same effect, and it's distracting.
The story was just so disjointed. It was like it tried to combine 5 different movies into this one story, and I just ended up not knowing any of the characters or caring about them. The 4 guys at the beginning, we kind of developed a relationship with, but then next thing you know, they're split up and gone, and we're only stuck with one, but we don't know what's going on because you have Vikings, and you have rednecks, and they're all killing one another, and it's just, I couldn't honestly sit here and explain the story back to you properly. It was so bad.
Another problem with the story is the introduction of these Vikings who speak this Norse language. They have conversations, long conversations, that aren't subtitled, so you have no idea what's happening. So there's actually about 15 minutes where you don't know what's happening.
It's okay to introduce any crazy elements as long as they're bound by some logic, and this was missing that. For me to actually think something's illogical because it's just not explained is pretty rare, very rare.
Even the dialogue I found was really offsetting because the conversations they were having were not natural in any means. You're watching what's on screen and it's too distracting because they're cutting it too fast or they're putting a filter on it. So you just have no idea what's going on.
They also tried to introduce a lot of rape to this movie for some reason, which didn't seem completely necessary. It made sense in some fucked up way for these guys to want to hunt other guys, but they were raping them beforehand, and they planned on shooting them with arrows and then raping them again. I just didn't understand why they wanted to do what they were doing. They kind of made it seem like it was for sport, but they didn't even end up hunting them at all.
And then to bring it back with the editing, I couldn't barely tell who was who. They're all bearded guys walking around in flannel or vest or whatever the fuck they were.
The gore that we saw was great, but we only saw it in half-second intervals. They had some great practical effects, especially when we watched some of the gag reel, which had extended gore scenes that looked fantastic. But in the actual movie as it was, you can barely see half of it. There's a big piss off, especially seeing that Rue Morgue said it had one of the goriest scenes of the year. Which one is it? I don't know, because we only saw any of them for maybe a second tops.
It's time for our final thoughts and ratings.
Based on the trailer, this movie had a lot of potential. It had lots of gore, and it had some pretty unique things like bringing Vikings in and inbred backwoods guys to hunt regular college students. Unfortunately, the execution was terrible. The editing was just really, really obnoxious and distracting and made it so that you couldn't follow all of these different storylines at all. I didn't care about any of the characters, I lost track of all of the storylines, and unfortunately, the great gore and practical effects couldn't save this. So I'm gonna give this 1 berry and cream parfait out of 5.
I went into this movie with a complete blank slate, and I'm still disappointed. It felt honestly just so confusing and nauseating, and I just didn't enjoy it. The gore was great, I'll give it that, but they crammed too much story into this one movie that I just ended up not enjoying it whatsoever. So I'm gonna give this 1 albino rhino out of 5.
I really thought coming into this that it was going to be a very gory film, something that was going to have like some sweet kills, and what we got were a couple of scenes that looked nice and a story that was way too messed up to even understand. And when you're sitting there for an hour and 45 minutes trying to figure out what's going on, it hurts your head and it's boring. I was not entertained. I didn't enjoy any of it. I really don't recommend this to people because you're going to be sitting there scratching your head more than what you are actually paying attention to the film and seeing what's happening. So that being said, I'm gonna give this film 0.5 cheese doodle showers out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching, like this video, and if you've seen this film, let us know in the comments below what your thoughts were. If you haven't, it's put out by Midnight Releasing, the link's in the description, but we don't recommend this one, unfortunately. If this is your first time here, I'm surprised you made it this far, but usually we have some other cooler reviews of independent horror movies, so check those out, subscribe to the channel, and stay updated with everything we're doing here on Bloodbath and Beyond.